Hi, everyone. I hope you can hear us and see us. If you can, use the reaction button to just let us know that it's working well. So I hope you can see it. Few administrative things. So I'm Jitendra Arora. I am joined by Harry and Nomer in the team. What this is about is walk in my shoes. I had engagement with a lot of students, and some of you might already be on the call, where it's not very clear when you are studying or you want to join cyber, which are the specific areas, because it's quite a big area and you are different types of profession, different roles exist. So we thought, why not? We will bring some of the people from the team for them to come and talk about their experiences, their journey, how did they join cyber, and also break some myths that exist about, you need to have some specific things to join cyber. So our intention is to be able to help and support your journey into the cybersecurity and provide some clarity that can help you in terms of deciding which side of cybersecurity you would like to join. Um, these are our personal views and our own experiences. We are not representing our organization views here. And as I said, please use the reaction button to engage with us and just to let us know that what you're hearing, you're liking, and everything else. And you can ask questions using Q&A functionality. If you would like to ask any question at the end, and you would like to ask it verbally, then you can raise your hand using the reaction button option, and we can unmute you and you can basically engage with us. Now, these are the 3 sessions for now we have scheduled for May. We will do more depending on the engagement and depending on the feedback that we receive from you. So please do provide us feedback towards the end. Let us know whether you found it helpful. So next session is on 16th of May and then on 30th of May. And we're going to bring professionals who are working in these areas for you to kind of, again, understand what it means to be working as a pen tester into governance, incident response, threat hunting. Intention, again, is to give you sneak peek and insights into those. So with that, I'm just going to stop sharing and we're going to dive into it. So I have two young dynamic individuals. I'm the old guy. So the individuals who are much younger, most likely similar age as yours, who are going to just join me today. And also, actually, both of them, I want to thank Nomer and Harry because they have been supporting me in this whole Ask the CISO initiative that we have created. So huge thanks to them. So a lot of preparation happens behind the scenes, and I owe a lot to these two guys. So without further ado, I think maybe Harry, can you introduce yourself and describe your role?
Absolutely. So my name's Harry. I work in the Chief Information Security Office, which is also can be abbreviated to CISO. I've been in role for about 18 months. I've only got 18 months of cyber experience, so I'm still very new to the role myself. And I'll get that's the only bit of background I'll give you so far. We've got questions to go through, and we can dive into a bit more of the experience, my day to day, and everything like that. But I'm excited to show you a bit more of the non-technical side of the cyber role. But no, we can dive into a bit more detail further in the session.
Thanks, Harry. Numair, can you introduce yourself and your role as well, please?
Yeah, good afternoon, everybody. I'm Nomer. So I am involved in cyber consulting, specifically cyber risk consulting. I've been in my role for about coming up to a year now. And yeah, like Harry, I'll keep it brief for now, and hopefully we'll uncover more as the session goes on.
Yeah. So Nomer, let's stick with you for now. How did you get into cybersecurity? Just give us a view about your journey of getting into cyber.
So I suppose this goes back a while. I'd say my first exposure to cybersecurity was a TV show called Mr. Robot. I think a lot of people have seen that. But I studied computer science as my bachelor's degree at Cardiff University, and yeah, I wanted to try and get as far away from programming as possible, and I sort of landed on cybersecurity. But yeah, it wasn't so successful. You can never escape programming in computing, unfortunately. And then
so it was an accidental. So are you saying it was accidentally?
Oh no, it was intentional. I was on one hand I had software development, and on the other I thought, well, all my knowledge was Mr. Robot and malware, and I was like, oh, this seems cool, hacking. So that's sort of what pushed me towards that. And I spent a year studying towards my master's in cybersecurity and technology. Met a lot of awesome people, and now here I am, almost a year later as a cyber risk consultant.
Thank you. And Harry, what about you? How did you get into it?
Mine's a little bit different, really. After finishing school, I joined a software company as an IT support consultant. So still in the technology realm, but not in the cyberspace. So I was trained up as a support consultant doing tickets, triaging them, and then I moved into more of a project management role where I was trained up, and I delivered NHS projects. So that was all to do with healthcare and everything like that. And then I got sort of approached by a recruiter for a role in cybersecurity, and I didn't really think I would get it because I had no experience, but I went for it anyway, and here we are. It shows that you can come from all matter of backgrounds. You don't need degrees or anything like that. Um, and I landed well on my feet, and I'm absolutely loving it. I'm learning so much. It's a great function. There's so much to learn from a technical and a non-technical perspective. It's a little bit different, so it just shows you don't have to go to uni if that's not your route. Everybody has their own way in life. Sometimes uni is not for you, but that doesn't mean you can't have a career in cybersecurity. So do not be deterred.
Thanks, Harry. I think this is a very interesting example. So we have one person who did computer science bachelor's and master's in cyber versus, coming from a very different route, Harry. And I think sometimes we do not pay attention to the lot of other skills that you gain and develop while studying, while researching, analytical skills that you build, and in the IT support role. So you may have thought you will not get the role because you may think that you need the technical skills, but there are a lot of other skills that you were carrying that were very visible when we interviewed you. And that's where you kind of entered into cybersecurity. And so we have a primary school teacher who is self-taught, self-learned, now working in cybersecurity. We have a school leaver who has just finished A levels and now joined our team. So there are very different ways you can get into cyber. So okay, so Harry, will stick with you again. So what your day-to-day role looks like?
Oh, my day to day. My day to day is not really that much structure to it. A lot of what I deal with is stakeholder management and engagement. I'm getting a lot of different ad hoc requests from our CISOs, our geo leads, and that could be anything from um, understanding what firewalls we got in place. It could be absolutely anything. I do a lot of work with projects, so like cloud migration. I support that from a cyber perspective, acting as an escalation point, engaging with our geographies. Um, I mean, that's what I really like about my role. There's no 2 days the same. You get lots of different requests. I'm exposed to a lot of different parts of cybersecurity in terms of helping people, providing guidance, advice, and learning, coming up with solutions. So there really isn't really clear cut in terms of what I do. A lot of on the alternate side in terms of the structure I do have is a bit more of a monthly basis. I help and support all of our leaders, our leadership team with requests there, facilitate their senior leadership meetings, and take the action decisions. We roll with that, and we work with the appropriate teams to make sure those decisions and actions are followed up and implemented. I also facilitate more the community side, bringing our function together. I think that's a huge bit there by hosting our NECCs all hands. It's a great meeting, very light-hearted. It brings everybody together. It's always a lot of fun. We like to host that from the office, and it's all about just promoting community, getting people speaking, because we all work in remote environments these days, and it's becoming much more prevalent. So having that time just to get together, have a conversation, have a laugh, learn about each other from a bit.
What's your day-to-day look like?
It varies. It varies a lot. So when you're a consultant and you're working with multiple different clients and different types of engagements, your no day is ever the same. It depends a lot on the type of work you're doing, and on the type of company as well. So a lot of the times, you're dealing with really big corporations who have offices and teams all around the globe. So, whilst contractually you may be a 9 to 5, it's sort of flexible, and you build your day around the type of work you're doing. If you have teams based in India or Pacific Standard, West Coast US, sometimes Singapore, you need to be flexible. and it's manageable when you can plan well. But in terms of a day to day, it really depends on the engagement. So a lot of what I'm doing right now is having conversations with various application teams in businesses. So a big thing at the moment, especially in financial services, is regulators are pushing to see a protected backup solution by 2025. So for a massive company, it's a long process. They have to identify their critical business services, and these types of projects last a while. Where I fit in now is sort of helping the application teams identify the dependencies that their applications have on other applications and infrastructures, uh, and sort of what are the necessary bit like components required to recover the application, and helping them to facilitate backing that up into a protected backup solution. So that's what I'm doing right now. In the past, I've worked on disaster recovery, benchmarking assessment. So that's looking at the whole disaster recovery process. Although I think JIT, service continuity, is probably a better term these days to use. I think DR is sort of an older terminology. And yeah, a lot of it is because I work primarily in financial services. A lot of it's regulation driven. So whenever there's a new one, obviously a big one at the moment now is the DORA, that's impacting EU. So that's a lot of firms don't don't know how it's going to impact them. So helping them with that and making sure they're ready for when that comes into play.
Thanks, Nomer. I think what just to bring it to life, what Nomer is also talking about is whenever you hear about the ransomware attack, and whenever attackers are trying to go after the organization, they generally go after the backup systems first, because they know if your backup is not available, most likely the probability of the organization paying ransom is very high. And that's where regulators are saying for banking, because obviously it's a regulated business, it's a critical part of the national infrastructure. So making sure the organizations have got protected backups so that they have the ability to recover, and basically they're operationally resilient in an unlikely scenario, because all of these things starts mattering when something goes wrong. So it's a very, very interesting concept about immutable backup, but it's a very, very heavy focus area, especially in the businesses which are part of critical national infrastructure. Okay,
Definitely.
so we keep hearing that you need technical skills to get into cybersecurity. Whenever I speak to students and everything else, or even somebody, say somebody's trying to get into cyber, they think you need to be a technical expert. To coming to your point, where we're talking about, Mr. Robot analogy, you need to be superly technical to get into cyber.
Yeah.
So what's your view? Let's talk about that.
Yeah, I'll start on this. It's a yes and a no. To be honest with you, it depends. If you want to be a red teamer, you've got to be able to use a Linux command line. But if you want to do the type of stuff I'm doing, I work with people who have no cyber background, who've studied economics, physics at university. It's not a prerequisite. Does it help to have technical skills? Of course, when you're having these conversations with the application teams, and helping bridging that gap between the regulators and the business objectives, and translating what the tech teams are doing. A lot of the time, they're already doing good stuff, but there's a disconnect in the language. So that's where the key is. That's where they can be helpful to have that technical knowledge to understand how systems work, the types of infrastructure and software being used. But no, it's not. It's absolutely not a necessity in cyber consulting, at least.
Okay, thank you. So before I come to Harry, I just would like to ask people, are you able to hear us properly? Can you just, give your thumbs up and let us know that you're still with us and you're able to hear, it's audible?
Am I now audible?
You are audible now, Harry.
Now I've gotten rid of the headset. You always get some sort of technical problems, don't you? Never that easy.
Welcome back.
Okay, so Harry, to you now. Technical skills.
Yeah.
You obviously came from a very different background, so tell us your view.
So I've got to. It's along the similar lines as the mayor. Some roles, technical skills are required, but for the vast majority of them, I think what is much more important is the soft skills that people have as individuals. They tend to be more habits and are more ingrained in the person, and they're harder to teach, whereas technical knowledge can be picked up by anybody with the right attitude. So really, I think if you want to create the right culture, right environment for a team, start with the soft skills, and then any technical experience, depending on the role, is a bonus. I mean, that can be learned. I came in with none, so I just learned on the job. So I do really think it's more, depending on the role, it should be more steered to soft skills. Because obviously cybersecurity is a growing area. I mean, there's more demand than there is people with those technical skills. So we are going to have to look elsewhere to actually for a resourcing strategy almost. You can't be contained just by looking at technical experience. So just cross-training people is another way of addressing that.
I think let's unpick that a little bit, because soft skills, I call them essential business skills, is a very big, broad term. So I think it's important to bring it to life for the people about, what are those that you generally pick up when you're studying, or whether you're, in the school or A levels or even university. So I would like to just unpick that a little bit, and I will give you my perspective as a hiring manager when I am hiring grads, or when I'm hiring even even as an experienced people. The reason I call them essential business skills is technical skills, as I said, because technology landscape is shifting. So if you ask 10 years ago what it was versus now, is shifting, and with generative AI is shifting again. So technical skills, we can teach them, we can bring it up to the speed and everything else. And we have the support system training programs for that. But those essential business skills that Harry is talking about is your curiosity. I always look for curiosity. So have you got a curious mind to be able to look at a problem and not getting intimidated by a problem, and then backed up by the analytical skills to say, in the world that we live in, I think information age, we have access to all the resources. So you don't need to go into a library, read the encyclopedia and figure it out in library where you're going to find the book. Now you have access to all the information. But having that curious mindset, ability to go and understand the problem, decouple a big, I always think about every problem, big problem, you'd have to break it down into small bite-sized chunks, and then go and research, find out use the resources at your hand, and then apply that analytical skills to go after solving the problem. Ability to change and adapt. With generative AI coming in 5 years' time, technology landscape is going to look very different. So are you adaptable, and are you able to change your ways of working? Are you open-minded to some of those things? Communication skills, very, very important, because what we are doing today in this conversation, we are communicating with each other, connecting with each other. So having a good communication skills, being able to express and explain your point of view is very, very important. Writing skills, very important. And writing skills, not like you're writing an essay, but people don't realize that even an email can be written as a good email or a bad email or an amazing email. Can you describe your point of view in a clear and succinct manner? Stakeholder management. As Nomer was talking, I'm sure Harry has to engage with, he was talking about geo CISO. So basically my team has got multiple CISOs in different regions around 28 countries. So when you're engaging with them, how do you engage with them in a way that you understand their needs, understand the requirements they have, and being able to bring back and deliver on an artifact which meets those needs? So it's the multiple, what I call essential business or life skills, which we sometimes don't pay attention to, but actually they're more important just the technical skills. And but then Numair and Harry were talking, for example, red teamer. If you want to be an ethical hacker and red teamer or pen tester, and we will talk about that in the next session. But that's where you need some very good technical skills, and you can acquire a lot of these skills with the access to the resources which are available on yourself. And we will talk about that in the next session. So, okay. So, Harry, what have you learned since you joined that role 18 months ago, from an IT support person to now into cybersecurity?
I think the biggest one for me is learning the ability to say no. It's learning the ability to say no. I think it's a really big one, and I'm still learning that. It's something that's I'm progressing with over time, and it's quite a powerful thing, really. I think I'm very much, as a normal person, I'm a people pleaser. I like to please people. I like to help make everybody feel that they're involved, and accommodate people. So if I need to take extra tasks at my own detriment, I would. But now it's actually learning, creating those barriers between taking on as much as I can. You know what, putting my hands up and saying, you know what, I can't do this right now, but I can have a look at it in a couple of weeks' time. You know, and that comes with being able to prioritize your workload and everything like that. So there's multiple skills within that. Another big one for me was learning to speak with senior stakeholders. When I first came in and I sat in one of our leadership calls, I was like, oh my God, how am I ever going to have a conversation with these people? I was so nervous, I was sweating, you know, because I just had no sort of perception. But what I learned very quickly is everyone is human. Everyone has the emotions. Everybody's the same, really. And having those conversations and building those relationships with our leaders over the last 18 months has made me realize everybody's human. Everybody has personal lives. Everybody's empathy, emotion, and it's just actually connecting with them and understanding them as a person, which has allowed me to have vast conversations with people I wouldn't even dreamt of 18 months ago. And it took thought of speaking to someone. How would I ever speak to them? They wouldn't care what I said. But a lot of people are very respectful, and everybody's always open to opinions. Wherever you are, the most junior person, or the most senior person, you're always given an opportunity to speak, and that's what I really, really like. It's just learning that just not to be scared or shy away from conversation.
Basically, you're saying be open and honest, be very clear about what you can do, what you can't do, create those boundaries, and then having ability to have conversations and be true to yourself. I think that's very, very important. Thanks. Numair, what about you? What have you learned since after finishing masters and being a consultant now?
Oh my. I think the key thing I learned is it definitely comes back to communication. Obviously, all the project management skills you develop just by having a job, you become more organized, you become just generally more competent in all ways. But I think there's what I've learned is that it's easy to get wrapped up in a bubble. So when I've just spent all this time doing a cybersecurity masters, and then you speak with your peers who are also doing the same thing, and you start to wonder how do people fall for phishing? How do people fall for these common tactics? But then when you start speaking to people in other business areas, which is what a lot of what I was doing in my first engagement, outside of the cybersecurity sphere, you realize that there is a disconnect. So what I've learned is that you have to be understanding, and you have to be able to sort of appreciate that your worldview isn't necessarily the only worldview, and through that you're able to just be more effective in your communication. You're able to tell and explain to people why certain things the way they are. I think that's probably the biggest thing I've learned so far. But I'm sure there's more, and I'm sure it's a never-ending journey of learning, Jid. I think you're still a student yourself.
I am. I'm still learning, and I think it's very, very important for everybody to understand what we are talking about here is that no one journey is going to be the same. So Harry had depending on the area you enter into, the journey might look different, but career is a long term. So I started my career as a firewall administrator, actually infrastructure administrator, which was a Unix administrator, then became firewall administrator. And then over the years, I have done different things to end up becoming a CISO. So look at a long-term view and have that adaptability to be able to learn things and have that curious mindset. I always say, because I think personally, my curiosity has really helped me in life to say, I want to try different things and allow the skills that I have built to be able to apply them in different places and different roles. So one thing I always think about is what would have helped me when I was a student and I was looking to join into cybersecurity or IT as a whole. And I always think of myself whenever I'm speaking to the students. So maybe I'll come to you, Harry, first. What do you think would have been helpful for you to know when you were going to join into cybersecurity, which a lot of people on the call, if they're thinking about joining in cyber, what would be helpful for them?
I think what we're doing now is absolutely amazing in terms of the resource we're providing. Is what I struggled with from the outlook from when I was obviously applying for the role was I had no conception of what all the teams were, what the teams are, what they do. It was only since joining the role you actually learn you've got the vast amount of teams that you have, and that resource isn't really readily available to someone outside of the cybersecurity sort of realm. And so it's just sharing that, publicizing what there is, and from the outlook, you just think it is all technical, very very technical, but there's just so much more to it. And it's just publicizing all the different areas from that people can join, because you wouldn't know that until you join, and then people have the curiosity once they join and go, oh, I maybe want to try that area, but they wouldn't have known that without joining. So it does very much feel like it's a bubble at the moment in terms of only people in the cybersecurity sort of landscape know what's inside it, and it's very hard for people to actually have a proper understanding of the complete landscape of the different teams from outside of it, from that perspective. So having these sessions here in real life, sort of what people get up to in their day to day, in terms of like, take from even a consulting perspective to an internal perspective, and what sort of opportunities they offer. And these series of meetings will sort of bring that to light, and that's why I know we're not covering it all on these originally scheduled sessions, and that's perhaps maybe why we should do more to make sure we're covering every single base, just so we provide that insight to everybody.
Okay, thanks, Harry. And just before I go to Nomer, so please use chat functionality to ask any questions. If you want to ask question anonymously, use the Q&A button, which you can find under the more icon, which is the 3 dots. So you can ask the questions. So I want to make sure that we have a chance to answer any questions that you may have or which are on top of your mind. Okay, so Numer, same thing. What would have helped you? Do you think, or you knew everything before joining?
No, you never know everything, but I completely agree with what Harry said, and I think the best way to achieve that is something that I wish was something I wish I knew, despite the fact that everybody was telling me, but I just couldn't drill it into me. Was networking is so key. It's so important, and this is industry wide. Attend cyber conferences where you can. There's so many happening everywhere. A lot of them are free. Go there, speak to people. There's, at the end of the day, we're all human. There are people who are willing to help and give back. I was in the same position a lot of you are now a year ago. In this job market, it's very difficult to get a job. And I always said myself that, once I get one, I'm definitely going to help others. So find people, like Jit, like Harry, like myself, connect with them and get advice. But that's the big thing is build your network.
Yeah, and I think one thing I will say, these Chartered Institute of Information Security Professionals have a very specific student track. Join it, CISEC, we call it. It's an industry body, and they have a very specific resources for helping students, inviting you to the events they organize, where you can meet people like me, and you can meet a lot of other, senior professionals and the security professionals, practitioners who are working, and you can get some very first-hand information. So please do that. Okay, so next question, we are getting some questions, which is good. So we're going to come to that. So keep it coming, keep bringing the questions, keep adding it. What advice would you give to someone who is looking to join in cybersecurity? Nomer, maybe we'll go with you first.
Yeah, again, network. But also it depends on what you want to get into. Start a blog. Ultimately, most people looking to get into a graduate job, they're gonna have degrees. So do something that makes you stand out. And even things you might not conventionally think would. You don't have to go hunting certifications. If you like penetration testing and hacking, go and hack the box. Get your score up. I'm sure there'll be a hiring manager that's impressed by that. But yeah, do something that separates you from just being a normal graduate. and there's so many things you can do.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing, which is resources are available. And depending as you get to know which
Absolutely.
area you want to specialize in, I think that shows the initiative that you have taken an initiative to learn something more than just the course was offering you. So it's a very, very important part. Harry, maybe, what advice you would give?
We covered it very well, but just one thing from my perspective, what I did when I first sort of joined was in terms of learning the fundamentals. ISC Squared offer a very good course, which is certified in cybersecurity, which is a free course for everybody, and it's a certification. If you have no experience whatsoever in cybersecurity, that's a great place to start. Something like that is a certification to get under your belt. And it teaches all the fundamentals you may need if you have no prior experience. I think that would be very helpful.
Okay, one last question, then we will go to the Q&A from everybody. So, what's your long-term career ambition, Harry?
Long term. Oh, I mean, my long-term goal would be to either be a senior executive or a CEO at a company, I've got to say. I think that's my long-term ambition. Just really be in a position where I can make an impactful change and have an impact on not only the company but society. I think is a big one for me, because again, I'd love to be in a position where I can give back and make a phenomenal change to people's lives, just for the positive, because there is obviously so much to be done. So,
Brilliant, Harry. Numair, long-term career ambition.
Yeah, absolutely, Harry. I think that's unanimous across the board, is to be the JIT of the next generation. But no, I don't like looking too far. We don't even know what's going to be around when we've got 10 years of experience. There's quantum computing, there's Gen AI. We might not even be employed. But I think
we will be. With cyber is not going anywhere, I can tell you that.
Oh, yeah,
One of the most resilient professions. So
that's famous last words.
yeah.
No, I think for now, my next steps are just to specialize, find something to specialize in, build a portfolio where I can be valuable to organizations, and then let's see where we go from there.
Yeah. Okay. So we have got the Q&A coming up. And when you ask more questions, can you please specifically, if you want any specific person to answer out of three of us, can you please mention that? So I will pick up those questions where first I'm going to go to the Q&A window. So first one is for you, Numair. What does a consultant do on a day-to-day basis, and how technically challenging it is?
Okay. So you might have joined late. Yeah, like I say, it depends on the engagement. It can range from being very technical to non-technical, to somewhat technical, and it truly is up to you. Some of the engagements I've been on, for the most part, have been mainly non-technical, but have required the technical understanding of systems, infrastructure, and software, because there's a lot of conversations with developers. And if you speak to developers, you know that they don't like to change their language, and they do love to use their tech terminology. What does a consultant do on a day-to-day basis? Essentially, you're brought in a very simple term. A company has a problem, and they want your advice on how to solve it. So you come in, you assess, you action, and hopefully you improve.
Yeah.
So that's it at a very basic level. But in terms of technically challenging, again, depends. If you're brought in for an AD remediation Active Directory, then you're probably going to have to be quite technical. But if you're brought on to identify critical business services in the underlying tech stack, probably not. That's what you won't need much.
And the key part here is sometimes when you have a technical problem that you're solving, you're not on your own. You are generally backed up by some very specific subject matter expert who are being brought in to solve a very specific problem. So, but key here is it's about solving a problem, a business problem. And that's where your ability to analyze problem, break it down into small chunks, and going after in an analytical way, that helps you. So, okay, next one. If you guys were a hiring manager, what are the 3 key soft skills you would look for and why? Okay, I'm going to answer this question, but first I'm going to say, stop using the term soft skills. Business skills, life skills. These are essential business skills and life skills. So what I look for, and I have been hiring for many, many years now, right? First thing, I will generally always ask you a question about a scenario where there is no right answer or wrong answer. What I'm trying to understand is exactly this. how do you go about solving a problem, how your thought process is, whether you have got a structured approach towards this. So that's that analytical ability and problem solving is a very, very important thing for me, because most of the time, day-to-day basis, even as CISO today, I'm solving problems day to day, right? That's the one thing. And second piece is, and I'm going to say communication skills, but I'm going to explain this in a different word, different term, because there are people who are extroverts, but there are people who are introverts. And communication skills is not always about being vocal. Our communication skills are also most part of the good communication skills is about listening. And that's also where, when I am having a scenario-based questions, it helps me, because then I know whether you have listened to the problem properly or not. Because most part in the communication goes wrong when the listening is not good. So that's where I'm really focused on a number of times. And also how clear and articulate you are in providing the responses. If beginning of the interview, I have already said, we would like to keep the answer, please provide the examples to bring it to life for me, and keep your answers brief, because we have a lot to cover. And then if somebody goes completely off tangent and everything else, that basically is not a very good use of time. So these are the analytical skills, problem solving thing, the communication skills, which includes your listening skills, but also how do you articulate your responses? Because that's, for me, is very, very clear, right? That will help you on day-to-day basis in every engagement, every conversation you're having. Imagine now we are working in hybrid scenario a lot. These things may become even more important to make sure that there is an effective conversation happening. I hope that answers your question. Anybody has, Harry, Nomer, you have got any point of view?
I think you nailed that one.
Okay.
I just want to add one thing that helped me when I was applying. Jit, you mentioned about asking questions where there's not necessarily you're not looking for the right answer. There's going to be questions which you don't know the answer to, and what I found works for me is I say, well, I don't know the answer to this, but I do know this, and
brilliant.
I can take this and apply it to that. So taking that kind of approach.
Good point, Nomer, because, and I have a lot of respect for that answer, because instead of trying to, create something which is not relevant, it's about going in and basically being true. Okay, what does networking really look like? What kind of conversation should you have? I will answer this one, Nomer, because this is a conversation I've been having with a lot of students in the university. I have a 1 to 2 minutes elevator pitch even till date in my role, because sometimes I may get a chance to share a lift with the executive member, or sometimes when I go to the board meetings, I may get a chance to speak to the new board member. And you need to be very clear on your elevator pitch. Who you are, what defines Harry, what defines Nomer, what defines Jit. We are different people, but we need to be very clear in the value, what defines us, and having that elevator pitch very, very clear. So networking, basically so good conversation is clear, succinct, where you're prepared, so you're not making it up as you go along, but in your head you have the value proposition very clearly, well defined and written down. And when you have it written down, the clarity comes in your conversation. What does networking really look like? Go to events, join some session. I always say, if you join online webinar, it's very difficult for you to network with somebody. You are present and you are listening to somebody, but you're acquiring the knowledge. But networking is very much about going into the events, attending them, and then I know it's daunting, even I talk about it openly. Big events, I get social anxiety. So it's very difficult for a lot of people, and I can understand that. But being able to go and speak to some people, elevator pitch, being ready and being open to say you are a student, you are looking for a job, or you are looking for some guidance, and ask for help. And I can tell you, people who are in the industry, they will very happily and willingly provide you the help and support. So don't hesitate. How does your team differentiate from the other teams? What are the best qualities of your team? Harry, can I get you to answer that question? Because I think better you answer.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, for our best qualities of our team, I think we're very fortunate, and just a nice, our team is wonderful. There's just no words other than it's just amazing. Everybody is there for each other when we need each other. We're team players. If someone's out sick, someone else covers for them without question. It's just amazing. I just feel so full. I've never seen anything quite like it, and we're very, very lucky to have the individuals that we have. Everybody's hardworking, proactive. You know, I have a question, no matter how stupid it is, someone's going to sit down and have a discussion with me, explain it to me, and without making me feel silly or making me feel small or anything like that. And I just think that's just amazing, especially because I know a lot of organizations don't have that, or teams don't have that, and it's going to differentiate from team to team. So I think our best quality is our community, like sense of community. We're like a big family. That's how I describe us, and we're very fortunate to have that.
And I think one thing I will say is everything starts from being open and honest. A lot of time we think we can't bring our true self to work and everything else. And all of you on this call are the future leaders. Some of you, and maybe all of you, are future CISOs. And it's very important for you to kind of build that leadership style where you are open and honest. You make everybody else around you feel comfortable, take care of each other. And that makes any place special. And what Harry described, I call them emotions. So what he described right now are emotions, how you feel. And all of you and everybody has to contribute to that, because it's just not just one person's job. Okay. Now, next one is, how and where should I start my career in cybersecurity, and what are certifications that I should have as a beginner? I think Harry talked about the ISC2 offers a free certification and everything else, and then you get if you want to specialize into pen testing, there's a very specific the ones you can do. But my view is, depending on where you want to take the career path, if you want to go into a very technical domain, then there are free resources available, example from Microsoft, from Azure, from AWS. And I would really encourage you to go and look into cloud security, because there's not many people who have got cloud security experience. It's still a new area. And these providers offer for students number of free trainings and certifications. So you can look at that. If you want to have a good broad understanding of security, so you can demonstrate in your CV when you're applying that you have built a good body of knowledge about all domains, then ISC2 one is a good one. And then if you want to do, let's say, pen testing or something very specific. So it depends where you want to take the career, but there are a lot of resources available. And I would highly recommend CISEC, which is Chartered Institute of Information Security Professionals, to go and look at their track, because they have a specific track for the students, and a lot of resources available that you can do, and you can acquire some credentials. And it's not expensive. It's not expensive, actually. It's very cheap. So have a look at that. How could we stand out while applying for a consultant role? Come on, Umair, tell the people, how can you stand out?
How can you stand out? Okay, demonstrate a good knowledge of industry practice. So what's going on right now? A lot of companies are migrating to cloud. Okay, get a Azure fundamentals or foundation certification if you can. I know it does come with a cost, but do that. Demonstrate you have an understanding of industry best practice. You have an understanding of what organizations are doing, and the future, like what's coming in, quantum computing and generative AI. Those are going to be the next big things. So try and be ahead of the 8 ball. I guess that's probably the best advice to stand out, and just refine, as Jit says, and he's going to shout at me for using this word, the soft skills. You gotta ultimately, the employer wants to have confidence in, can I put this person in front of a client, and is he going to represent my company and the values? So those things, nail those, and you'll be successful.
And one of the important quality as a consultant is the initiative.
Absolutely.
And for me, if somebody has done the degree, if we have 5 applicants or 10 applicants who have done the degree, out of those 2, they have taken initiative to do some certification, to do some course, to say, I have gone extra mile, and I have not just relied on the university degree, or I have done some internship, or I have done some work, I have done some research project. So it's very, very important to show the initiative where you have gone extra mile. And when that happens, that really makes you stand out as a consultant. I'm going to pick up a few from the chat now. So how do you differentiate between technical versus non-technical roles in cybersecurity? What skills you require on deciding the right role? It's a very interesting question. I think this is the dilemma a lot of people have. But it all depends how when I speak to the students in the school who are doing GCSE or A level, and the best way to explain to them is who are the people who you enjoy building something beautiful, something you take pride in building beautiful things that will give you the sense of satisfaction. For me, that's basically you have an architect kind of a mindset. And who are the people who would like to break things to test, to break it, to say, let's see what is the breaking point of something. And you enjoy that curiosity to break things. You're not necessarily interested in kind of fixing it, but you really want to test it. You really want to see what's the limit. So that's a technical, that's where you become a pen tester. And similarly, if you are a person who is very, who has got good analytical skills, you like to play with the data, you have got good Excel skills, or you like to play with big data sets and everything else, you become a very good security operation analyst because you are generally looking at vast amount of log data to find out what's going wrong. And if you are a person who does not like to have a well-defined job, who wants to have a little bit more open playing field, where one day it's not going to look like same or something. Consultant is one, but in security operations center, my view is when I started my career in security operations, I learned so much. I learned so much more. And that's an interesting thing because you understand how things work, how things go wrong, and when they go wrong, what happens, how do you go about fixing it? It gives you a kind of a very, very interesting overview, but it's a technical area. And similarly, you can go into, if you're a person who likes to communicate people, who likes to focus on changing behaviors, education, you can look at the security awareness and those. So some of these things we're going to cover, but my view is in terms of how do you decide, it depends what makes you happy, what brings you joy. So put yourself in a shoe. If working with large set of data, looking into the screen for a long time is going to drain your energy, security operations is not for you. If variety of work, where Nomair talked about, where you come to the day and then day is not, you're not sure what the day will look like, then being a consultant will really stretch you to your limits because there's a lot of uncertainty in the sense that you do not know what the next project is going to be. And if you like to have a set work, then you have to go into the, really security organization where you're actually part of the security team. So it all depends what brings you joy and what will be kind of draining for you. So you have to think about that. Are there any beginner projects you would recommend for developing relevant cybersecurity skills? Yeah, it means I think there are a lot of interesting projects that are available, whether university can offer you, or I think there are a lot of student resources are available where Hack in the Box, Numair was talking about. There are some very specific one on security awareness program that SANS offers and everything else. So I think you can look at different projects. And if you want to reach out, I think reach out to Harry or Numair over the LinkedIn, and they will be happy to share some ideas with you. But I think there are a lot of resources available. There are a few free certifications from Microsoft and Cisco, also some virtual internship. Yeah, again, it shows the initiative. Yes. So if you are a person, don't just do any certification. I think you need to be able to explain to me why you were interested in doing Microsoft certification or Cisco, because if somebody has done 10 certifications and they're not aligned with any direction, so you're almost trying to learn everything, it tells me you're not clear where you want to take your career. But if you say you want to become a cloud security expert, and you go and tell me you have done AWS engineering certification, or you have done the AWS, solution architect kind of a thing, or Azure, it tells me the direction. So you are very focused, and focus always wins because I know you have given a good thought and you're trying to do something, and you have taken the extra effort to do something in that space. So how and where to start my career in cybersecurity, and what are the certifications that I should have as a beginner? I think we have already covered that. But if you need no more information, please reach out. We'll be happy to help. How and where to start my career? I think we have it's the same question. So let's look at the Q&A back again. I think the last one remaining is, do you expect applicants early careers to already know which part of the cyber they want to specialize in, such as penetration testing, threat hunting, and governance? Actually, no. in reality is when you are joining into the graduate program, most graduate program will have a rotation scheme. So you will be working on different teams and getting a good flavor of what it looks like working in different teams before you kind of decide which area you want to go in. But in a consultant role, as Numair, and Numair, just talk about your journey about, going through the experience of the consultant interview or the assessment process and what was being tested. I'm sure he didn't ask you for a specific thing. So
No, it wasn't. To be honest, mine was kind of unique. It ended up just becoming a conversation. I don't know if you've done probably thousands of interviews, but that's what it ended up becoming. It
yes.
was me and a director, and we were we were talking about he's a specialist in identity and access management, and I was asking him, um, how do you deal with executives who want access to everything, right? Because what you're trying to implement role-based access control, whaling, right? That's like a big phishing attack. People go for the execs because they know they have access. And like, how do those conversations go when you have to tell a CEO, look, maybe it's not right that you have super user privileges, and it just ended up becoming a conversation. I think, yeah, in the interview process, it's just it, it's a difficult one. You are expected to demonstrate your knowledge in questions. But for me, that's how they've all ended up, and I suppose that's just because you have that wider knowledge of the field of cybersecurity. It's good to research the specific role, but also be able to. You should only, I guess, my general rule is you should only talk about what you talk about should be 10% of what you actually know on a subject matter, because that's where you can have these side conversations which really make the difference, I think.
Yeah, I think it comes back to the problem solvings because what you're explaining to me is the person was giving you scenarios to understand how you go about addressing a situation.
Yeah,
What's the thought process? How do you approach a problem? So, okay, I think
yeah.
we have covered everything that we wanted to cover. I just would like to ask all of you if you can put in the chat if it was helpful, if it was useful, and give us a thumbs up on your reaction because I think we are investing time and it would make sense to do it if it is good use of the time for you and if you're able to gain something out of it. So if you can use reactions, if you would like to put something in the chat, please do. And just to be clear, we do not have a mechanism for you to auto register for the 16th and the 30th one. So I will publish this on the LinkedIn and you will have to go and register for the session in 16th and you have to register for the session on 30th. And just to reminder, what alarm. Sorry, there's an alarm test going on. It's not a real alarm, but the test.
Whilst that's going on, I just want to say, please do reach out to us on LinkedIn. I'm happy to support you with any queries you may have. Just drop me a message, and do give us feedback. What do you want in future sessions? We've obviously got the 2 more planned, as Jit's got on the screen now. If there's anything you'd like a bit more structure, let us know, and we can refine these sessions because we do want to make sure they're a valuable use of not just our time but your time as well.
See, we are trying to do this to help and support you, right? So give us a feedback and we'll do our best to help and support you in the best way we can. All right, with that, I would like to thank Harry, Numair. Thank you so much for all the help, support, and the effort to give it back. I really, really appreciate on behalf of everybody. And then we will see you on 16th. Thank you.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.